Hi, I'm Sam,
And I'm Samri.
and we're the Lines Between the Stars podcast. We had a big long break,
Yep.
big hiatus, mostly just because we've just been busy.
Yep.
We're also going to go to our older format of just kind of recording this and not doing live. It's just a little bit easier
Yeah.
on us that way.
Yeah.
We don't have to look pretty for the camera.
Yep. And we're not limited to a specific time.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we can just do these whenever. It's a bit easier on both of us.
Yeah.
So our topic today is we're going to talk about a coding bootcamp because Samri has been going to a coding bootcamp.
Yeah. It's been intense.
Yeah. So because you've done a coding bootcamp in the past before.
Yeah.
So let's say the big differences between now and the last time you did a coding bootcamp.
Well, so the first one, it was right before the pandemic.
Right.
Technically, it had started. It's just in the U.S. we were still going about our lives like it's normal.
Yeah.
So it went on until late January of 20... Started in 2020, right?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah. So, and it was a part-time boot camp, and I was working full-time at the same time and going to the boot camp in the evenings twice during the weekday and then on Saturday.
Okay. And also, I just wanted to mention, how long was your commute? Because I remember your commute being quite long. From your place, how long was your commute from your place?
From my place, I had to take the train, and then... I mean, I guess from the train, it was pretty short to go to my work.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of walking.
Yeah, and then also the train hours are limited, and there's a lot of delays with trains as well.
Yeah. Because there's people...
Yeah, people using it to commute too.
Oh, no, the delays happen because of, guys, doing the whole suicide thing.
Oh,
suicide by train.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So, whenever it's delayed, I'm like, oh, someone else just...
Yeah. A lot of control, a lot of things outside of your control, pretty much.
Yeah. And from my place to the train station, I had to I either drove or take
you
a
took
Lyft.
An Uber. Yeah, you
there
took
was
a
a Lyft program.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to pay during
commuting
rush
hours.
hour. Yeah, commuting hours. Yeah. It was a pretty good program, but it ended.
Yeah, it ended. It's not it wasn't a permanent thing. But I remember you would tell me weird stories about Lyft drivers.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh!
You had so many Lyft driver stories.
It was all these. It's a range of things. The men, half of them were just creeps or whatever. I don't know. There was one bad case.
Yeah, you remember you had one where you're like, I'm scared for my
Yeah.
You didn't, and fortunately for you, you didn't actually tell them to drop you off at your home.
Yeah. I knew to set the destination to be at
a little bit like a park, a generic place.
Yeah. And he wouldn't know where exactly my house is.
Yeah.
Cause I heard stuff about Uber and Lyft and all these
share ride stuff.
You don't want people to know where you live, and cause I was I tend to my stranger danger meter
is high. You have
No, it's actually not, cause I was talking to him about oh yeah, I have a boyfriend, blah blah. I don't know how we got started talking about relationships.
He's trying to hit on you while you're driving, That's weird.
And then he was like, "Oh, okay, so do you live with your parents?" And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, he's asking personal details. It's what is this guy gonna do?
I think he was asking. He was like, "Oh, is your dad home?"
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
In
okay.
actuality, he's not. But
yeah,
like,
you don't live with him, but you're like, yeah, he is.
But then at that point is when it clicked in my mind, like,
triggered, you're
okay,
like,
okay.
Like, oh shit.
Yes, my dad lives with me and my mom.
His muscles are huge. He will.
He is a big
he's
black
a pro.
man.
He can like crush a watermelon in between his thighs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he is big. My dad is pretty big.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So going back, commute, and then you also stayed at my place too on days where you did have the class. So it was like half at my place, half at like your place.
Yeah.
So you kind of moved in a little bit earlier, like this was maybe about a year within our relationship, I think.
Oh,
and
okay.
it was kind of like you moving in a little bit, right?
Wait, so okay, we started dating in 2018.
Yeah, 2018 roughly.
Yeah, and then I moved. Yeah, I guess After
it's
a
like,
year.
After a year, which is actually like not bad. It's like pretty. I think that's a norm. I mean, with our generation, I think that's pretty normal. But yeah, I think also helped us like figure each other out, like living with each other as well. Though it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best situation because I also had roommates at the time too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like solo living together.
Yeah.
But I was getting rent money, so I was like, yeah, money.
That's true. It was a bit awkward.
Yeah.
I mean,
there were awkward
pretty
moments,
chill.
but yeah, my roommates are pretty chill,
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's see. Oh, and if you're worrying, like, was Samri worried about, like, a place full of guys? Well, my roommates were gay, My roommates were gay. I think that helped out, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been comfortable if
they were straight. If they were like I know like 100% you wouldn't have been comfortable if they were straight, but they were gay, so like people would be like, I guess in the situation people would be like, are you comfortable with this? I'm like, yeah, of course,
Oh, okay.
They're my friends. They're my friends,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also like lived in a in scenarios where I have stayed with both men and women in the same place. So that whole thing just like doesn't matter to me.
Oh,
as much.
Okay. During college?
Yeah, during college. So like I'm used to it.
But like when it was what is it? Both genders living together. Is it called unisex?
Yeah, like unisex.
Or co-ed, sorry.
Co-ed, yeah, co-ed.
So co-ed situation, like one gender had a set of their own bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so the difference between this coding bootcamp that I'm going to right now and the previous one, the curriculum, the way that they have structured it is different.
Okay.
The previous one was a part-time bootcamp. It wasn't, because I would have had to quit my job in order to attend a full-time bootcamp.
Yeah, and then you can't. We're in a situation where not many people can quit their jobs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
like right now?
Yeah, I mean like right now, even back then too, like like a year or two ago, like even then it's hard to like quit your job, where not many people can like afford to quit their jobs.
Yeah, I mean.
And you paid money on top of that too, right?
Yeah.
You were paying for the course.
Yeah.
As well.
This one is an apprenticeship.
Yeah, and this one you're now doing is like part of an apprenticeship program. So how's the workload between the two, like comparatively? I know like you did part-time in one, so I would assume that's less. But but it kind of balanced itself out because you're dealing with the rest of like your life. Yeah,
it was a lot during the part-time bootcamp because like there was our relationship.
Yeah.
And we were getting to know each other.
Right.
And then I was like living part-time at your place, living part-time at my place.
It seemed like, funny enough, the part-time boot camp seemed busier for you than than the full-time, which you would think would be busier, but because
it's remote.
Yeah, it's remote.
I don't even have to change into like professional clothes. I don't have to wear makeup.
you're not working out either too, so you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah.
focus on the program, focus
Yeah.
on the program. And yeah, like, you live with me, and I can like I'm a good house
Husbando.
husbando. I go and I cook dinners. I cook lunches and
Yeah.
like
It's
do
really
other stuff.
helpful.
It's nice. It's
Because
nice.
like sometimes I forget to eat.
Yeah.
Like when I
You're
code, it's really intense.
Yeah,
Like
when
I
you
just
get in
like.
that focus mode, you really like focus mode and like don't think of anything else, which is why
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I gotta like make sure I feed my wife.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of like the intensity, I think it comes from like passion that I transmuted from my hate from my old job. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like I have like nightmares about going back to that job.
Yeah, okay.
So
PTSD nightmares, right?
yeah, and that's what like fueled my passion for coding. I'm like, and also at the same time like right now I'm studying Java, which is a lower level language, and it's object oriented programming.
Yep.
And I am falling in love with Java because it makes sense. Like
Yeah, it
I
makes
don't
sense.
have to wonder, okay, what's this function doing?
Right. In more on the technical sides, I really don't think that when people are learning how to code, I really don't think that they should start with the scripting language. I really think that they really should be starting with like an object-oriented based programming language like Java or like C++ or something like that. Just because it helps build like those foundational tools,
Okay.
and like you understand what an array is. You understand like what a list is in comparison to an array, right? Because like you built an array, you're like, oh, it's set size. And then in like scripting languages, sometimes like they don't really have arrays, they have lists, right?
Okay.
They usually have lists because of how they allocate memory. But it's nice to know what an array is and being like, okay, this does not change versus a list that like goes dynamically. And you understand the difference between a dynamic memory object versus a static memory object, right?
Yeah, because on top of learning Java, we also do algorithms in JavaScript.
Yeah.
And that one is really cool as well. But speaking of doing algorithms, yeah, like it is important. So I did the whole, the whole like pre-boot camp. You need to actually know things about programming before you go to a boot camp.
It's so hard to do it without like
any knowledge
at all.
You'll be lost and you'll feel really stupid in front of others because they're just like, okay, this algorithm is this because they've done it before.
Yeah, or something similar to it before, right?
Yeah. I mean, or done that very algorithm. Like I feel like they have, like some of the attendees are like way ahead, like 2 weeks ahead of the rest of the class.
And this is coming from someone who has a degree in computer science, and I have gone to college for programming. Your knowledge for your first boot camp compared to your knowledge with the second boot camp is night and day, right? Your first boot camp didn't even go over like object-oriented programming, and then I remember you going to interviews not knowing what object-oriented programming was.
Yeah.
And then I had to go tell you, it's like, okay, like this is what object-oriented programming is. You will be tested on. You will be asked about this. And if you can't answer this,
and I was asked about it.
Yeah, it's like if you can't answer it, they'll probably not like accept get you for another interview.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this first program didn't prep you at all.
Yeah. I mean, when you're studying JavaScript, because what we studied in the first boot camp was HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React,
like just like
Node,
yeah,
JS.
very high level like stuff,
Yeah.
Without like because I think having a good solid foundation is important to be able to do like higher level stuff,
Yeah. I mean, if you ask Miki about boot camps, he has a passionate disdain for boot camps.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, like he's the opposite spectrum of like, oh, you have to know every single detail
Yeah.
of like the
Back end.
Yeah, like what happens when this happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just like tell me, like just explain the basics, like the top level stuff. Because I don't have time to get into this, like literally, like because I took a test on Friday, and I was talking to him on Thursday evening, and he's like, and I'm like, oh my god.
Your brother goes really in depth into like detailed intricacies, right?
Yeah.
He's not good at dumbing things down. Right?
Yeah.
He's not good at like
he goes on tangents very much.
He's not good at like dumbing things down for people.
Yeah. Know? He expects me to understand things that took you and him like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And
right?
Understand it.
We took multiple classes trained by like professors who have like decades of experience.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You've gone through textbooks and multiple I don't know, like it's
not
just
textbooks because like we didn't.
Oh, you didn't have textbooks.
I mean, like when you go to computer science, it's mostly about coding, so you don't really use textbooks because most of the things you find in textbooks you can just Google on Stack Overflow or like a reference sheet online.
Oh.
Because most textbooks are just like reference sheets, and then they go out of date real fast, so it's actually inefficient to use a textbook for CS because stuff like goes inefficient within like a year or two.
That is pretty chaotic for like the typical learner in school.
Yeah.
Because schools are not designed for like fastly
developing
things.
Yeah. So that's why we use Google a lot. That's why we use Google a lot for a lot of the stuff. Our professors told us to use Google. Like our professors were like, yeah, I'm not gonna make you spend. I had really nice professors too. They're like, we're not gonna make you spend like, you know, a bunch of money on textbooks.
Oh, okay.
We'll just like.
Oh yeah, textbooks were expensive.
We'll just Google
ridiculous.
It. They were just like, just Google it, you know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I think is important for like being able to teach someone is being able to like dumb it down. You know, like not to say that like, you know, well actually here look, all students are dumb. They start out dumb and then they get the knowledge to become smart. You know, like So you have to be able to explain concepts as if like they do not like know anything, and that's hard. That is hard. You know.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of patience and you know kindness to be a teacher for like people who are not from the computer science background and not everyone, even if you understand things, you can't be a bootcamp teacher. Like it takes a different kind of skill.
It is a different kind of skill. I was like, I remember being stressed out trying to teach you because I was like, I can't like cram all of this knowledge into you in like a short amount of time and just have you regurgitate it.
Yeah.
You know, that's I like for me I felt like kind of uncomfortable with that. Like I'm just like and also here's the thing too is that like my CS experience, like I'm really bad at like web pages. And all these boot camps are like web page based, you know. I have a very much like lower level experience because I tend to work with like hardware devices. So like working with like high level stuff, like I'm lost, and I'm like, I'm not passionate about programming enough to like really spend too much time working on my own.
Oh, okay.
Like. That is one thing. Like some people are like, oh, why doesn't you have Sam help you, right?
Yeah.
But like for me, it's just like I don't like coding enough to like also like learn. Also,
I wonder why like Miki knew how to like he knows everything. Like
he likes coding.
He likes it.
I think like here's the thing. He probably likes coding. Okay. That's like another thing about like computer science too with programming and stuff. I feel like you kind of have to like it to do well to do well.
Yeah. That's what you told me.
That's why I told you like in the very honest, because I was like, make sure you actually like this. You know, it's not like I sat down and like talked to you. It's like, okay, understand that there is the possibility that you do not like this, right? That happens, right? That happens in college all the time. People drop out of the program because they found out that they just don't like programming.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
And like I've been told from my siblings and relatives, like you gotta have a passion for like programming. I'm just like, yeah.
You're like, I don't.
And you know, I went to a program and like was surrounded by people who were like hyper passionate about it. And like me comparing to them, I'm like, I'm not at all. Like in comparison, like I like programming enough that I can like have it as a job, right?
Yeah.
I can do it to my day to day and it doesn't bother me. And I'm like fairly good at figuring things out. You know?
Okay.
I'm pretty good. It's kind of one of those things like I'm good at it. I'm not necessarily like it's my favorite thing in the world, right?
So there's a boundary between your private like interests versus what you do for work.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a fair thing.
It's a fair thing, yeah.
And there's this ideology out there about like you have to be passionate about what you do, but you actually don't.
I do think that you have more of a passion for coding than I do.
Oh, okay.
And so I do think that eventually you're going to be in a place where you'll probably be a better developer than I am within like a couple years.
Oh.
I do think that's the case because I don't really like I don't really care to get too much better at programming. Like I'm fine with my current job of like I'm a quality like SQA. I'm a software QA, like software like test.
So quality assurance
And testing, and I've gotten to a comfortable place where I am in my career that like I'm fine with where I am.
Yeah.
And I think I like to focus on myself, on bettering myself on like things outside of work, which has been much more fulfilling in my case for me at least.
Yeah. You're much happier.
Yeah.
I've noticed. You're less like stressed out every
Yeah,
day.
because I think like we're going on a tangent, but it's just kind of like I think we live in a culture where people like told us like you have to be like, you know, like your worth is what career you have.
Yeah.
Your worth is like how good you are in that career.
Yeah.
And that like follows us through like high school and college.
Yeah.
And like, you know,
when
stuff like
people are introduced to each other, what the first thing they ask is
it's like what they do. Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. And like I think like me as like my career, I'm like extremely boring, but outside my career I think I have like a really like fun, interesting thing going on for me.
That's true.
Yeah, and
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, like much happier focusing on like stuff outside career. And like, you know, like it is a thing that like I think it comes from a place of privilege too, you know? Like I make a lot of money on my day-to-day job, so I can focus on like my outside extracurricular thing. But I think that when I went into school, when I was doing like when I chose computer science, I think that was like my goal too. Like I was intending, really? Like I was like.
Oh, you thought ahead to.
I thought ahead about it. I thought ahead about it because I could 100% gone into like the arts too, you know. I could have gone into like art or something like that, and but I was kind of thinking like, well, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. Might as well go into the thing that has money, and then like I'll figure it out once I have money.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You know.
It's the most logical.
Yeah, like right now, like I can do a side gig. Like I just have a bunch of side things going on while living comfortably. And actively, my job helps fund my side gigs and stuff like that. Which I feel like is an advantage in my case in like certain parts because I have the money. I have like the disposable income to really pursue these things, right?
That's true. Yeah, you don't want to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
It is something that my uncle was like, okay, you don't want to be a starving artist because, you know, he asked me, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, typical stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of being an artist. He's like, no.
Yeah.
It's nice to be honest with kids because like you will help them think critically about the future.
I mean, it is possible to like make enough money with like art. You just have to know that like it's highly competitive. It's not impossible to make money out of art. It's just that it's really hard to.
Yeah, at least in our current culture.
Yeah, at least with our current culture, like there are different ways of like making money, and like I could get into that in a different podcast topic.
Okay. Yeah, but so going back to the bootcamp situation, also the reason I like this bootcamp more because it's very structured.
Yeah.
There's TAs. I mean, there were TAs in the previous one too. That was pretty cool. But the website you go to, once you submit your assignment, they have a solution, like one possible solution, so you're not lost.
Okay.
So I can learn from this is how they were able to like display this object onto like the web and all that stuff. But yeah, so checking solutions I figured out last week. I was like, this is how people are able to like move forward, because like I was stuck in like older assignments, and then when I submitted one I was like, this thing popped up.
It's a solution. It's like,
solution.
Check solution.
Like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, use your tools.
Yeah.
Build up your support system. I am very glad, I am lucky to be able to like, ask my brother or you a question, and like I don't have to wait for like a TA, or I don't have to like scour the internet for like obscure answers to things.
Also, I'll be real, if like Samurai was asking me a question, I wouldn't be able to give an answer right away. I'd be like, okay, give me a question, and then I'll go research that question for like an hour or two, and then I'll come back to you.
Oh.
That's kind of like my thing. That's kind of like my thing. Cause
you want to make sure
I want to make sure that it's like good, correct, and I can like compile my answer into something that's like easily digestible. Gotta cook my answer.
Oh.
I gotta find the ingredients for the answer and then cook it to make sure that it's suitable. It's a suitable palate.
Yeah, but yeah. So I like this bootcamp more, and they are very focused on getting feedback from their students as well.
I like this bootcamp as well too, in comparison. Like just the way that like it's set up, and the way how, I mean, like I think your situation outside of it has a big thing to do with it. But I think the fact that they are like teaching you object-oriented programming, going to algorithms is very important. Even though like algorithms aren't really used on like Workday, it is important to get a job. Yeah,
because your
interviews are all algorithms, even though you don't use algorithms. It's so weird. I don't like that.
Algorithms, they help you think about how computers think.
Yeah, that's true too.
And how they store information.
Yeah. I think to certain people, algorithms are fun. Me, not so much. Me, it's like, it's work.
You're like,
yeah, I'm like,
big sigh.
Big sigh. Okay, so we're changing. This is like a good announcement period. We're changing up our format. Our podcasts are going to be just 30 minutes in length, and we're just going to focus on like the one topics. And and they're going to be 30 minutes long, because I think our original podcasts are mostly like two topics, 1 hour long. So now we're just going to be doing one topic, half an hour long each one.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And we're going back to our audio only formats. It's a bit more relaxed, and we're not going to live stream these. We don't have time to set up the live streams for these as well. But yeah, thanks for supporting us. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And subscribe to us, hit that bell notification. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Bye.
See ya.